From recreating real-world events to its addicting multiplayer, the best-selling first-person shooter game series of all time has gone through a lot of changes. Some of those changes have been quite controversial, but with over 425 million copies sold, it continues to excite gamers year after year. With the release of the 20th main installment, it's time we pay our respects to this gaming veteran, and not by pressing F this time, while simultaneously welcoming the new recruit. This is the evolution of Call of Duty. While it may be the world's most successful first-person shooter nowadays, Call of Duty took its early inspiration from a series of video games titled Medal of Honor. The concept, story, and production of the Medal of Honor series were created by the famous American director Steven Spielberg. Spielberg's inspiration for the series emerged while he was directing and producing the World War II film Saving Private Ryan. Medal of Honor was so popular that it spawned a new trend in World War II first-person shooter games. In 2002, shortly after the third Medal of Honor game was released, a new development studio was formed under the name Infinity Ward. Many of Infinity Ward's initial employees had been lead developers for Medal of Honor: Allied Assault. However, after joining the new studio, they set about creating a rival game, one that was also set in World War II, but unlike those before, it would be based on teamwork and feature intelligent AI to assist in large-scale battles. The result? Call of Duty. With a budget of $4.5 million, the team at Infinity Ward spent a lot of time and money researching weapons and vehicles from World War II in order to make their game look and sound as authentic as possible, and their hard work sure paid off. Fun fact: the rivalry between Electronic Arts' Medal of Honor and Activision's Call of Duty was very intense. So much so that when developing their new rival game, the latter assigned the codename Medal of Honor Killer to the project. Shots fired! Although 20 years later, it's safe to say that Activision's confidence was well-founded. Amidst the ever-evolving world of gaming, a new star emerged on the PC horizon in 2003, destined to reshape the landscape of interactive entertainment. Call of Duty was unlike anything before it, immersing players in the intense theaters of World War II through the eyes of three distinct characters. Firstly, there is the American paratrooper, Private Martin, who is dropped behind enemy lines to establish a landing zone for other soldiers involved in Operation Overlord. He also saves a character that Call of Duty players would see more of, Captain Price. The British campaign begins with Sergeant Jack Evans, tasked with taking over the Pegasus Bridge, alongside Captain Price. Following this, he destroys the anti-aircraft guns protecting the Ypres Dam, allowing Allied forces to destroy it. Lastly, the Russian campaign places the player in the role of Russian Corporal Alexei Ivanovich Voronin, as he enters one of the largest battles of World War II, the Battle of Stalingrad, a conflict that would claim the lives of 2 million people. As for gameplay, Call of Duty was among the first to introduce realistic features, such as iron sights, being able to aim down the gun's actual sights to increase accuracy, and shell shock effects to add more immersion than ever before. Aside from its captivating campaigns, the original Call of Duty offered multiplayer action. Guess what? Even after 20 years, players are still battling it out online. Activision was also early to the expansion trend, allowing players to add another 3 campaigns to their collection with the United Offensive expansion, released a year after the base game. The same year as the expansion's release, console players were given the chance to experience this legendary shooter. The console version of Call of Duty, named Finest Hour, received a different, more cinematic campaign. Both the gaming community and critics hailed the original Call of Duty as a masterpiece, granting it an impressive score of 91 on Metacritic. For a debut release, the game's achievements are remarkable, securing multiple Game of the Year awards and selling an impressive 4.5 million copies. Call of Duty had an impressive start, but this was just the tip of the iceberg. Soon, the franchise would establish itself as the champion of the first-person shooter genre. Fun fact, besides the main series, there have been numerous other Call of Duty games, though we won't cover them all. One particularly intriguing title that was proposed but never released was Call of Duty Roman Wars. Imagine battling in ancient Rome with swords and shields instead of rifles and grenades. Yeah, that doesn't sound like Call of Duty at all. In 2005, Call of Duty 2 was released on PC and served as a launch title for the Xbox 360. This time, gamers were treated to 4 unique campaigns. While the first Call of Duty largely centered on the battles in Europe, Call of Duty 2 expanded its scope to include the North African campaign and the Eastern Front. Players were tasked with defending Moscow, attacking German troops in several African countries led by the familiar Captain Price, and assaulting Pointe du Hoc in France during D-Day. At the game's end, players even get to save Captain Price. Again, Infinity Ward went all in by scaling the team to 75 talented individuals and pouring $14.5 million into the project. This led to substantial enhancements in the game engine, broadening the combat scope to create a more authentic battlefield experience with upgraded visuals, enhanced sound, and the introduction of a regenerating health system, which became a feature in many future FPS games. Additionally, the AI was significantly improved from the first game. Enemies would respond more dynamically to the player's actions, such as seeking cover when under fire and repositioning themselves to get a better shot. Allies were also made more useful, as they called out enemy positions. While Infinity Ward developed Call of Duty 2, another developer, Treyarch, was creating a different version for the PS2 and Xbox. Call of Duty 2 Big Red 1. This game was the first in the series to feature a campaign fully focused on a single character. The multiplayer of Call of Duty 2 featured several game types that would stand the test of time, including Team Deathmatch, Search and Destroy, Capture the Flag, and Headquarters. Critics loved the game and gave reviews such as close as you'll come to starring in an epic war movie. It also earned an impressive score of 89 on Metacritic. Notably, it also became the most popular launch title on the Xbox 360. In the first year after the Xbox 360 released, 77% of people who purchased the console also bought the game. The game has sold over 5.9 million copies in total, outperforming the original in terms of sales. Fun fact, developers travel to actual battle sites related to their in-game stories for Call of Duty 2 to take photographs and gather real-world information to ensure the setting's accuracy. The third installment of this series, launched in 2006, took the gaming world by storm. While the game was released across various consoles, it did not make its way to the PC. You might wonder, why wasn't it on PC? Due to the short 8-month time frame they had to make the game, compared to 2 years for the previous one, and with the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 being popular then, they decided to mainly focus on those consoles. For the first time, Treyarch took the lead in developing a main Call of Duty. The single-player campaign centers around the Normandy Breakout, a series of battles in France. Graphically, Call of Duty 3 showcased enhanced visuals that pushed the boundaries of the consoles it was released on. The level of detail in the environments, from war-torn buildings to the wear and tear on weapons, was a significant improvement, providing a more realistic feel. Like previous Call of Duty games, players were given the opportunity to play through multiple different campaigns. As usual, there were British and American campaigns, but this time, Canadian and Polish campaigns were also added. Several fresh gameplay mechanics were introduced. These additions ranged from hand-to-hand combat, adding an intense layer to confrontations, to the debut of drivable vehicles like jeeps and tanks, enriching the overall battlefield experience. Multiplayer mode in Call of Duty 3 was a game changer. It introduced expansive maps and increased the player capacity significantly, allowing up to 24 players on platforms like Xbox 360 and PS3. The multiplayer mode also included vehicles for navigating the huge maps, making it feel more similar to Battlefield than a traditional Call of Duty game. Additionally, players were now given the choice of a class system rather than just selecting weapons, providing 7 distinct classes, each equipped with unique weaponry. This enhanced customization and strategic gameplay marked the beginning of a new era, influencing the rich online multiplayer experiences that the series is now known for. Even though Call of Duty 3 got a score of 82 from critics, a bit less than its earlier titles, it turned out to be a big hit, selling 7.2 million copies. Back in the hands of Infinity Ward, the next Call of Duty game would bring the fight to the modern era. The aptly named Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was released in 2007 for PC, PS3, and Xbox 360. Set in 2011, then 4 years in the future, the plot involves an uprising in the Middle East, as well as an ultra-nationalist movement in Russia. The player takes on the roles of U.S. Marine Force Recon Sergeant Paul Jackson and a British SAS commando named Soap McTavish as they journey to locations like the Middle East, UK, Russia, and Ukraine, the latter of which prompts one of the most iconic lines in the history of Call of Duty.
50,000 people used to live here. Now it's a ghost town.
With a big step up in graphics, a gripping campaign that moved between different characters, and vastly improved multiplayer, Modern Warfare is often credited as the game that propelled Call of Duty into the mainstream, changing FPS gaming forever. The game used a proprietary engine developed by Infinity Ward. It allowed for dynamic lighting, detailed shadows, depth of field, and other high-end graphical features that significantly improved the game's visuals. For the first time, they incorporated motion capture technology, enabling the use of more realistic animations. Having moved away from their usual World War II setting, Infinity Ward now had the opportunity to include stealth missions instead of focusing solely on all-out warfare. Among these was one of the best Call of Duty missions of all time, All Gillied Up, a mission filled with truly heart-pounding moments.
Patience. Don't do anything stupid.
In multiplayer, a new hardcore mode makes everything, well, more hardcore. It reduces players' health from 100% to 30%, as well as removing the heads-up display and enabling friendly fire. Kill streaks are another major feature that is available for the first time, with players able to call in a radar, an airstrike, or a helicopter for 3, 5, or 7 uninterrupted kills, respectively. The biggest new feature, however, was the addition of player progression and class customization. Players could now earn experience points to level up, with certain weapons locked behind certain levels. If a player reached the final level, they could choose to prestige and start over from level 1, a perfect way to brag about their Call of Duty skills and dedication, or perhaps their abundance of free time. As you'd expect, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare won multiple Game of the Year titles and scored an incredible 94, beating all the previous titles. It's considered one of the greatest video games of all time and received a much-anticipated remaster in 2016.
Ready up. Let's do this.
While Call of Duty had a reputation for shattering sales milestones, this release took things to a new level, selling an impressive 17.3 million copies, more than twice the copies sold of Call of Duty 3. Remarkably, it became the best-selling game of 2007, despite only being released in November. Fun fact, developers from Infinity Ward took a live-fire training exercise with actual Marines to ensure that the gameplay, particularly the feel of the weapons, was authentic. Over the years, the responsibility for developing Call of Duty titles moved between Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and eventually Sledgehammer Games. By 2008, it was Treyarch's turn again, and they unveiled Call of Duty: World at War. Returning to the World War II era, World at War delves into the intense campaigns in the Pacific and the fierce battles on the Eastern Front. Players are immersed in the heroics of Marine Raider Private C. Miller, U.S. Navy's Petty Officer Locke, and the relentless Private Dmitry Petrenko of the Red Army. The nations involved include the United States, the Empire of Japan, the Soviet Union, and Nazi Germany. World at War is arguably the darkest and most violent Call of Duty game ever released, including brutal scenes of soldiers being executed or set on fire. Call of Duty has always been known for its realism, but World at War took it to a new level. Once the campaign is completed, a different kind of map is automatically loaded, and the player is introduced to zombies. This mode, which was added as a last-minute bonus by the developers, would become a mainstay in future Call of Duty games. In it, up to 4 players fight off waves of Nazi zombies, beginning with an M1911 pistol and upgrading their weapons along the way to complete as many waves as possible. Many key features, such as using points to open doors to new areas, and even the mystery box, were introduced in this first zombie experience. Players also had the opportunity to purchase additional downloadable content with new zombie maps. PC players could download these map packs for free a month after their release. However, most people couldn't wait that long, so the packs still generated a substantial amount of revenue. Though World at War might seem a bit dated by today's standards, back then it was revolutionary. Built on an enhanced version of the Call of Duty 4 engine, it showcased major upgrades, like more destructible environments and improved fire effects. World at War also offered a solid multiplayer experience. Players had the thrill of commandeering tanks and achieving kill streaks that unleashed recon planes, artillery strikes, and ferocious attack dogs. The game also introduced a full cooperative campaign mode, allowing up to 4 players to experience the main storyline together. While World at War received a lower score of 85 compared to previous titles, it still sold an impressive 15.7 million copies. However, both would be outdone by Infinity Ward's next installment. Fun fact, the Nazi Zombies mode was initially a hidden bonus. After completing the game, players were treated to this mode without any prior indication that it existed, adding to the surprise and intrigue. Its popularity eventually led to its inclusion in multiple Call of Duty titles. Then, with Call of Duty back in the hands of Infinity Ward, a gaming legend was born. Modern Warfare 2 stormed the scene in 2009, launching on PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. Following the events of the original Modern Warfare, the sequel thrusts Soap McTavish into leadership, guiding the elite Task Force 141. Their mission? Hunt down the relentless Russian ultranationalist Vladimir Makarov. Distinct from its predecessor, Modern Warfare 2 was crafted as a more cinematic experience, focusing on entertainment rather than realism. However, one mission, No Russian, caused a stir in the worldwide media. In this mission, Vladimir Makarov and his men commit a mass shooting in an airport as part of an attempt to start a third world war. The mission allows the player to participate in the shooting, leading to significant controversy. Although the mission was entirely optional, its inclusion sparked substantial uproar, with some even attributing future real-life tragedies to it. Apart from the main story, Modern Warfare 2 introduced players to Spec Ops, a mode featuring 23 distinct levels. These challenges, playable solo or cooperatively, are spread across 5 tiers. Each tier ramps up the difficulty, with stars earned as the key to unlocking subsequent levels. The most popular feature of Modern Warfare 2 was undoubtedly its multiplayer, elevating the customization from Modern Warfare to a whole new level. Players could select their own kill streaks, including the first introduction of the tactical nuke for those skilled enough to achieve 25 kills without dying. Each weapon was unique, offering a wide variety of different attachments. Modern Warfare 2 was fast-paced and extremely addictive, stirring overwhelming nostalgia for those gaming days. The enhanced multiplayer also created a more competitive community, with everyone competing for the final kill cam and showing off their cool weapon skins. This period also saw the emergence of trickshot compilations on YouTube, further cementing the game's influence in popular culture. Oh my God! Modern Warfare 2 utilized the IW 4.0 game engine, which was claimed to be a generation beyond the capabilities used for the engine used for Call of Duty 4. This allowed for larger worlds, more efficient rendering, and much better graphics. In the expansive and evolving world of first-person shooters, few titles have made as lasting an impression as Modern Warfare 2. When the game hit the shelves, it didn't just break records, it shattered them. With earnings surpassing $500 million in merely 5 days, it set a benchmark, becoming the most financially successful video game launch at the time. By January 2010, Activision announced that the game had surpassed $1 billion in sales. When you look into reviews surrounding Modern Warfare 2, its record-breaking success becomes clear. Notably, IGN showered the game with praise, awarding it a near-perfect 9.5 and straightforwardly deeming it a no-brainer purchase. Standing shoulder to shoulder with the original Modern Warfare, the sequel firmly staked its claim as the top-rated Call of Duty game with an outstanding score of 94. Its acclaim was mirrored in its sales, with a whopping 25 million copies flying off the shelves. Modern Warfare 2 was remastered in 2020, but it only featured the campaign. It's like they prestiged but forgot to equip the multiplayer. No more tactical nukes incoming and no trick shots either. Fun fact, ever felt like Modern Warfare 2 had a movie-like vibe? That's because Hans Zimmer, the genius behind iconic film scores for Inception, The Dark Knight, and Gladiator, crafted its main theme. This legendary composer rarely steps into the gaming world, but when he does, it sounds epic. Taking the franchise in a new direction, Treyarch began developing Call of Duty Black Ops in 2009 and released the game 1 year later. Set during the Cold War in the 1960s, Call of Duty Black Ops lets players experience the tense atmosphere through the lens of CIA operative Alex Mason. As he delves into his own fragmented memories, Mason finds himself on a mission to prevent a Soviet plot involving the deployment of chemical weapons across the United States. While the game references famous events from history, they are significantly changed for storytelling purposes. An example is the portrayal of the Bay of Pigs invasion, with a mission to assassinate Fidel Castro. In reality, it was a failed invasion by Cuban exiles supported by the US government to overthrow Castro's government, not specifically to assassinate him. Black Ops introduced several new features, such as the dive to prone mechanic, aka the dolphin dive, and players were able to use new weapons such as crossbows with explosive ammunition and ballistic knives. When Treyarch first introduced zombie mode in Call of Duty World at War, it was seen as a daring move, but in Black Ops, zombies became more than just surviving waves of the undead. Zombies now featured storylines, giving the characters more background and unique personalities. Major gameplay additions included Perca-Colas and the Pack-a-Punch machine. Notably, one of the most iconic zombies maps, Kino der Toten, was introduced. Multiplayer featured a new leveling up system, with COD points as currency. Players could track their progression with detailed stats via the new player card feature, and Black Ops Theater Mode allowed gamers to watch their recent matches. In multiplayer, players also had the option to combat AI, enhancing the game's versatility. Exciting wager matches could be fought where players could bet their hard-earned COD points, with new game modes consisting of Gun Game, One in the Chamber, Sticks and Stones, and Sharpshooter. Many were skeptical about Treyarch's new title, but guess what? They proved them wrong. Black Ops landed a whopping score of 87. Even more impressively, Black Ops raked in $650 million worldwide in just 5 days, outdoing Modern Warfare 2's record by $100 million. The victory lap continued, and with 32 million copies flying off the shelves, it stands tall as the best-selling Call of Duty game ever. Black Ops kept the success train rolling for Activision, giving Treyarch the green light to keep on producing more games and to expand in new and interesting directions. Fun fact, did you know that in the Black Ops main menu, players could actually break free from their restraints and access a computer? This hidden feature, packed with mini-games and Easter eggs, took many gamers by surprise. Next came the conclusion to the original Modern Warfare trilogy. Call of Duty: Modern Warfare 3 was released in 2011. After some key members left the team, Infinity Ward could no longer handle the development of the game alone. Therefore, Sledgehammer Games was taken off a different project to start work on their first Call of Duty game. Modern Warfare 3 picked up straight after the events of the final mission in Modern Warfare 2. Task Force 141, consisting of Captain Price, Soap McTavish, and a new playable character by the name of Yuri, continues to hunt Vladimir Makarov as he spreads terror throughout Europe. The game's setting featured major cities like Paris and New York, evoking an almost World War III type scenario, and concluded with a satisfying ending. Of course, the most prominent game mode remained the multiplayer. It offers players a variety of customization options to distinguish themselves from others. While the new multiplayer wasn't vastly different from previous games, it did introduce some new elements, such as killstreak categories. Many overpowered perks from Modern Warfare 2, like Commando and Last Stand, were removed in Modern Warfare 3 for better game balance. It also introduced Kill Confirmed, where players must collect dog tags from the corpse of a downed enemy to register a kill. Spec Ops mode returned along with a new mode called Survival, in which 1 to 2 players fight off huge waves of enemies, with the difficulty ramping up after each round. This feature could be seen as a response to the Zombies game mode in Black Ops, but it didn't achieve nearly the same level of popularity. Modern Warfare 3 achieved a score of 88 on Metacritic, positioning it as the 5th highest rated Call of Duty game during that period. Modern Warfare 3 took the gaming realm by storm, hitting the $1 billion mark in only 16 days. That's even faster than mammoth movies like Avatar and Titanic.
I'm flying! Jack!
With over 31 million copies finding their way to gamers, it proudly secured its spot as the second highest-selling Call of Duty game in history. Fun fact, the legacy of Modern Warfare 1 and 2 set the stage for Modern Warfare 3, and the excitement was off the charts. At midnight, 13,000 stores witnessed an ocean of 1.5 million fans eagerly waiting to grab their copy. In just 24 hours, the game saw sales of 6.5 million copies, raking in over $400 million. This phenomenal debut even resulted in the biggest entertainment launch at the time. In November 2012, the Call of Duty series gave us Black Ops 2. It was available for several game consoles as well as for PC players. Serving as a direct sequel to the first Black Ops game, Black Ops 2 takes place between the late 80s and the year 2025. It was the first game in the series to feature futuristic warfare technologies, paving the way for later games in the series. One of the most striking features of Black Ops 2 was its non-linear storyline. Players could make choices throughout the campaign, which in turn affected the outcome of the story. This was a dramatic departure from the linear narratives of previous games and added a significant replay value to the game. Players also had the freedom to change their loadout before every mission, allowing for even greater creativity in tackling each challenge. Drawing inspiration from its futuristic setting, Black Ops 2 multiplayer introduced the Pick-10 system. This feature allowed players the flexibility to choose any combination of 10 items for their loadout, giving them unparalleled freedom in shaping their gameplay strategy. The score streaks system replaced the traditional kill streaks, emphasizing objective play and teamwork over individual kills. Now a core game mode, Black Ops 2 was the third game to feature the fan favorite Zombies mode, complete with a new storyline and more dynamic maps. It also introduced the Transit game mode, where players can move between different areas by boarding a bus, allowing them to progress the story. However, players should stay on the bus, as they wouldn't want to encounter what lurks in the mist. Black Ops 2 hit it big, raking in a whopping $1 billion in a mere 15 days, outpacing even Modern Warfare 3. With 29 million copies flying off the shelves, it stands tall among the top-selling Call of Duty games. These massive sales enabled the Call of Duty franchise to surpass both Harry Potter
Why do you live? Because I have something worth living for.
and Star Wars in total movie gross profits.
You're coming together.
Even though the Pick-10 system and the campaign got mixed reviews, Black Ops 2 landed a decent score of 83. Yet for a Call of Duty title, it was on the lower end. And little did fans know, even rockier times were ahead. Fun fact, General Manuel Noriega, Panama's ex-dictator, wasn't too thrilled about how Call of Duty 2 Black Ops showed him. He went so far as to sue Activision for painting him as a kidnapper, murderer, and enemy of the state. But, spoiler alert, the court shut that down, saying Activision was just exercising their right to free speech. With Call of Duty Ghosts in 2013, Infinity Ward charted a new course for the series. The 10th main installment made its mark as a launch title for the newly released PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. 10 years after the US loses its superpower status, the game immerses you in a transformed world, playing with the special ops Ghosts. You battle against the odds in this fresh setting with new characters and a German Shepherd named Riley. Ghosts introduced various new movement features, like sliding and shooting from cover, allowing for more dynamic gameplay. Plus, players got more customization freedom, tweaking everything from headgear and uniforms to their character's gender and other accessories. In multiplayer mode, maps expanded in size, with certain parts being destructible. Some maps even change completely if someone manages to get the new tactical nuke, now called the Chem Strike. A new game mode, Squads, enabled players to create characters and either compete against them or team up with them to face other players and their squads. Additionally, another new game mode, Extinction, involved players battling aliens and destroying their hives using a laser drill. Despite innovative additions and the charm of Riley, Ghosts didn't hit the expected mark, earning it the spot of the least acclaimed mainline Call of Duty game at the time. While critics gave it a 78, players were less forgiving with a 4.1 score. However, its commercial success was undeniable, racking up over $1 billion and moving 28 million copies. Fun fact, not all heroes wear capes. Some have tails. Riley, more than just a digital dog in the game, had all her movements created using motion capture technology. The real-life inspiration for Riley is Ruger, an actual military service dog.
We better not kill the dog.
Get ready. Do it.
"2014 was a milestone year for the Call of Duty series. With Advanced Warfare, not only did Sledgehammer Games take the lead for the first time, but they also revamped the IW 5.0 game engine, previously seen in Modern Warfare 3, giving it a major upgrade. The decision to overhaul the game engine was a strategic move by Sledgehammer Games. By investing in engine improvements, The team ensured that Advanced Warfare could harness the capabilities of the next-gen Xbox One and PlayStation 4 consoles, leading to enhanced graphics, more realistic physics, and smoother character animations. The upgrade was not just about aesthetics, it was essential to bringing the game's futuristic world and the newly introduced exoskeleton mechanics to life. Interestingly, it wasn't all sci-fi. The developers collaborated with military experts and futurists to predict what warfare might look like in the future, and this included the use of exoskeletons and drones. In the campaign, set in the year 2054, you enter a world on the brink of chaos. As a member of the powerful Atlas Corporation, it's your responsibility to defend against terrorists targeting nuclear reactors, leading to widespread destruction and disorder. The narrative is enriched by the captivating performances of Troy Baker and Kevin Spacey in lead roles, adding depth to the unfolding trauma.
Atlas is an internationally registered private company. We don't need Congress. Gentlemen, are we operational?
The game utilized new motion capture techniques, especially for facial movements. It allowed for one of the most realistic character models at the time. This was particularly evident in Kevin Spacey's portrayal, where even subtle facial expressions were captured and replicated in-game.
So let's be clear. I am here to solve the world's problems. And I believe the world's problems begin with you.
Unlike previous installments, the game focuses more on small-scale battles rather than all-out warfare. However, the opponents you face are not average ground troops, but super soldiers equipped with advanced gear. Additionally, every mission introduces you to gadgets that enhance your exosuit's functionality. For instance, the suit can enable you to turn invisible or function as a jetpack. Multiplayer features many similarities compared to previous titles, only with the mechanics of the exoskeleton, which leads to fast-paced gameplay and people sliding everywhere. Exo Survival is the new survival game mode, though after the completion of Level 3, a map called Riot is unlocked, which triggers the return of zombies. Advanced Warfare certainly wasn't the most popular game in the series, but it was still considered a return to form after Ghosts. Many outlets praised the new movement and customization, with many rating the game around a 9 out of 10. Of course, sales also reflected this improvement with a total of 21 million copies sold. Fun fact, Advanced Warfare is the game in which the infamous press F to pay respects scene plays out in the campaign. Criticized for being insensitive and outright dumb, John McInnes, the game's screenwriter, had no idea the prompt had even been added during late-stage development. Like everyone else, he found it amusing when the phrase turned into a trending meme. In November 2015, Treyarch released its third Black Ops title. Set 40 years after the events of Black Ops 2, according to its official description, Black Ops 3 deploys players into a dark, twisted future, where a new breed of Black Ops soldiers emerges and the lines are blurred between our own humanity and the technology we created to stay ahead, in a world where cutting-edge military robotics define warfare. With 3 unique game modes, Campaign, Multiplayer, and Zombies, providing fans with the deepest and most ambitious Call of Duty ever. The campaign in Black Ops 3 could be tackled by up to 4 players. Notably, the game features a realistic difficulty mode, where players are defeated if hit by a single bullet. Diverging from previous Black Ops games, Black Ops 3 has little connection to the Cold War and lacks the usual flashbacks, likely due to its shift to a more modern and advanced setting. Although Black Ops 3 removed the exoskeletons and laser weapons of its predecessor, the story still incorporates high-tech abilities. These new cybernetic powers, unlockable by finding cyber cores, are divided into 3 categories, focusing on abilities to use against robots, enemies, or to enhance the player's own capabilities. The multiplayer in Black Ops 3 introduced the Specialist system, where players choose from one of 9 unique characters, each with distinct weapons or abilities ranging from flamethrowers to katanas. This system also offered extensive customization options. Following Advanced Warfare's lead, Black Ops 3 continued with enhanced mobility, but with a more grounded approach. Controlled thrust jumps and wall running were new additions. The updated score streaks featured more modern weaponry, such as rolling robots that explode on impact, replacing the classic attack dogs, and a robot helper. Zombies mode in Black Ops 3 unveiled a new narrative, spanning various time periods and dimensions. It also introduced new gameplay mechanics, like an XP progression system and unlockable items, including gobblegums and weapons kits that allow players to modify guns. Additionally, there was a greater emphasis on enemy variety, with players facing larger threats like the Margwa. With a respectable 81 score and a whopping 27 million copies flying off the shelves, Black Ops 3 made a mark for itself. Fun fact, after completing the main campaign, players can unlock a mode called Nightmares, which replaces enemies with zombies. After previously releasing a new Call of Duty game every 2 years, Infinity Ward transitioned to a 3-year release cycle following Call of Duty Ghosts. Their objective, similar to that with Ghosts, was to reinvent the Call of Duty formula. However, the fanbase did not necessarily share this vision. Tired of the overplayed futuristic setting, fans yearned for a return to the classic World War II era. So, when they were shown a campaign centered around a battle for the solar system, players were frustrated, to say the least. In fact, Infinite Warfare's announcement trailer became the second most disliked video on YouTube at the time. Addressing the criticism, Activision CEO Eric Hirshberg acknowledged the community's desire for boots-on-the-ground gameplay. He stated, "We also have millions of people in our community who want to have new, innovative experiences in the game each year, and Infinite Warfare is going to deliver that." Despite the backlash, sales were minimally affected. One factor that may have contributed to this was the bundling strategy. The only way for Call of Duty fans to get their hands on the Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare Remaster was by purchasing a bundle that also included Infinite Warfare. As a result, many players bought Infinite Warfare, but never actually played it. While the futuristic setting of Infinite Warfare was a point of contention for many, the campaign aimed to deliver a character-driven narrative. Players took the role of Captain Nick Reyes, leading the fight against the Settlement Defense Front, with Kit Harington, famed for his role as Jon Snow, portraying the main antagonist. The story missions introduced new elements like fighting in space, taking the franchise to other planets, and opening new avenues for exploration. In multiplayer, changes included adding health bars to enemies and introducing new rigs, intended to replace the specialists from Black Ops 3. Despite these updates, the multiplayer mode wasn't very popular. However, the game's Zombies mode stood out, particularly with Zombies in Spaceland. This neon-lit, 80s pop culture-inspired theme park offered a lively backdrop that diverged from the series' typically dark zombie narratives. It combined humor, retro vibes, and classic undead action, providing a unique experience within the franchise. While Infinite Warfare ventured in a new direction, it underscored the risk of moving too far from the series' roots. The game earned a score of 77, the lowest for a Call of Duty title at the time. While 13.6 million copies sold is impressive, it was a commercial disappointment for Activision, especially when its predecessor sold double that amount. After the lessons learned from Infinite Warfare, the next Call of Duty was bound to be a home run, right? Trivia time! What Call of Duty game had the highest production cost? It's Modern Warfare 2, with a jaw-dropping $250 million budget. It outpaced the 2012 movie The Avengers and matched the budget of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Fall and sit in the sun, but, well, you know how it is.
Sledgehammer Games was the company tasked with bringing the series back to its roots. In 2017, they released the much-anticipated Call of Duty World War II. It marked a departure from the futuristic settings of the previous games, becoming the first Call of Duty since World at War to be set during the Second World War. The campaign follows a young soldier, Ronald "Red" Daniels, as he and his brothers in arms storm the beaches of Normandy on D-Day. In contrast to older Call of Duty games, World War II focuses entirely on one group of soldiers, allowing for deeper character development and enabling players to become more invested in the characters, feeling their camaraderie and sacrifice. Sledgehammer Games also made the bold decision to depict some of the horrors that occurred in concentration camps, offering a more confrontational and realistic view of the war. One of the significant evolutions in World War II was the conscious decision to strip away the advanced mobility mechanics from recent titles. Gone were the wall running and jetpacks, replaced by grounded, tactical combat that emphasized strategy over speed. Notably, World War II is the first title since the original Call of Duty to not feature health regeneration in the campaign. Instead, players must find health packs, introducing new squad mechanics. Each squad member possesses unique abilities, such as providing additional health packs and ammo or spotting enemies. Another significant addition to the campaign is the inclusion of heroic actions. These present split-second moral choices for the player, like deciding whether to spare surrendered enemies or saving a fellow soldier. The multiplayer launch of Call of Duty World War II faced challenges due to server issues on release day. Despite this, it introduced notable innovations, especially with the War Mode. In this edition, teams competed for narrative-driven objectives based on real-world World War II scenarios, emphasizing strategy and teamwork. Vehicles made a return in the multiplayer, but not in World War II. The tanks moved along a set route, and players could only enter and use the turret. Another new feature was the headquarters area. This social space allowed players to interact in a non-combat environment, participate in challenges, and watch others open supply drops. It fostered a sense of community, turning multiplayer into a more social experience. The Zombies mode took a notably darker direction. Set in the eerie village of Middleburg, players unraveled the sinister Nazi experiments, facing a series of horrifying creatures. This grim approach, blending horror with the franchise's trademark action, made World War II Zombies a uniquely chilling experience for fans. Call of Duty World War II managed a slight edge over Infinite Warfare on Metacritic, earning a score of 79. While many players appreciated the game's dedication to a more grounded combat style, others felt it missed the mark in capturing the era's authenticity. With sales figures surging past Infinite Warfare, Call of Duty World War II pulled in over $1 billion in worldwide revenue and sold 19.8 million units, though it couldn't surpass the popularity of earlier Black Ops titles. Speaking of Black Ops, Black Ops 4 launched in October 2018. Treyarch initially had ambitious plans for the story mode, envisioning a setup where instead of having 4 players complete the game together, they would compete against each other in 2v2 scenarios. However, this idea proved too ambitious, and Treyarch ultimately scrapped the concept. As a result, for the first time in Call of Duty history, the game did not feature a traditional single-player campaign mode. Instead, specialist missions were incorporated, delving into the backstories of the multiplayer characters and blending story elements with the multiplayer experience. Multiplayer is both familiar and revamped, offering an intense, grounded combat experience. Health regeneration was replaced by manual healing, and the Pick 10 system returned, giving players more customization options, including stacking attachments to improve their functionality. The game also emphasized the roles and abilities of its specialists, each offering unique skills to promote team synergy. Zombies mode is revamped, featuring fresh maps, such as the RMS Titanic, and introducing a zombie rush mode. As always, it comes with enhanced customization options and the signature Easter eggs that fans eagerly anticipate. This time, the Zombies maps would feature 2 distinct storylines, each with their own characters. Blackout, on the other hand, was a brand new addition to the Call of Duty franchise that would prove to be very successful. It was essentially Treyarch's take on the Battle Royale genre, which at the time became a roaring success with PUBG and Fortnite. So Call of Duty couldn't stay left behind. It featured the largest map in Call of Duty history, while incorporating signature characters, locations, and weapons from the entire Black Ops series. While gamers and critics enjoyed this new mode, resulting in an 83 score on Metacritic, the absence of a traditional campaign did appear to hurt sales in the long run, as numbers dipped to 14.3 million copies sold. The fact that it made over $500 million in its first 3 days and was still considered a commercial disappointment goes to show just how massive the franchise has become. Fun fact, over 31 billion care packages have been dropped by Call of Duty players, according to Activision. Apparently that's enough to build 15,000 Great Pyramids of Giza. Don't ask me who did the math on that one, because I'm not going to check it, but that's a lot of care packages. And if you care about my package, hold on, let me put that differently. If you appreciate the content we deliver, how about dropping a like and hitting the subscribe button? It's like sending us a care package on this battlefield of content creation. Much appreciated, soldier. Having learned from the challenges faced during the Infinite Warfare launch, and with Black Ops 4 reaffirming that Call of Duty fans were less enthusiastic about futuristic settings, Infinity Ward returned to familiar ground. In 2019, they did this by rebooting their Modern Warfare series, a move that aimed to recapture the essence and popularity of the earlier titles in the franchise. Taking place in a realistic, modern setting, we see the return of friendly faces like John Price, aka Captain Price, and the not-so-friendly ultra-nationalists. The campaign delved deep into the modern geopolitical landscape, tackling themes of terrorism, uprisings, and the gray areas of warfare. Infinity Ward has crafted a story inspired by the shadows of real-world events, like the Syrian Civil War, the mission targeting Osama bin Laden, and terror-related incidents in London. Modern Warfare adds realism to its campaign by compelling players to continually assess whether NPCs are threats. A notable example is a civilian woman who appears to be reaching for a gun, but is actually taking a baby from its crib. Players are evaluated on how accurately they make these decisions, with rewards given based on their judgment. Straying from the futuristic settings of recent predecessors, Modern Warfare's multiplayer brought the series back to a more grounded, tactical approach. The new Gunsmith feature allowed players unparalleled customization of their weapons, being able to choose between up to 60 attachments. With the inclusion of larger-scale modes like Ground War, which supported up to 64 players, and the new 2v2 gunfight mode, Infinity Ward showcased both the diversity and depth of Modern Warfare's multiplayer offerings. Notably, the tactical nuke made a comeback, but now is a demanding 30-kill streak. Cross-platform play, a first for the series, bridged the gap between console and PC players, fostering a more unified Call of Duty community. Launched in March 2020 as a post-launch update, Infinity Ward's Call of Duty Warzone quickly became a standout in the Battle Royale scene. Set on the expansive Verdansk map, Warzone allowed for up to 150 players in a single match, merging traditional Call of Duty mechanics with fresh concepts like the Gulag and in-game currency. Within just a month, it attracted over 50 million global players, securing its place in the genre. Now Warzone is a standalone game that can be downloaded for free by anyone and still draws in massive numbers. Special Ops mode also returns from the original Modern Warfare series, as does Survival mode from Modern Warfare 3. However, Survival mode was controversially locked behind a long exclusivity period, initially being available only to PlayStation 4 owners. This sparked outrage in the Call of Duty community and even caused some gamers to cancel their pre-orders. Despite this, The game sold over 30 million copies in a 10-month period, becoming one of the best-selling games in the franchise. It didn't receive the highest review scores, though, receiving a score of 80 on Metacritic. This is likely because the game was review-bombed by people who disliked its negative depiction of the Russian military. It's worth noting that this was in 2019, before the real-life invasion of Ukraine. Some accused Infinity Ward of being Russophobic, since in one level of the campaign, it's revealed that Russian forces killed many civilians in an area called the Highway of Death.
There is only one road, Tariq al-Maut, the Highway of Death. The Russians bombed it during the invasion, killing the people trying to escape.
Ironically, in the real world, the Highway of Death is an area between Kuwait and Iraq that suffered devastation as a result of American forces attacking there during the Gulf War in 1991. Fun fact, Modern Warfare introduced Realism Mode, stripping away the game's HUD for an immersive experience. This mode is particularly impactful during the Clean House mission, a nighttime raid on a townhouse. The mission was praised for its intense realism and has become iconic among fans of the series. In 2020, the Call of Duty franchise returned with Black Ops Cold War, the direct sequel to the original Black Ops. Jointly developed by Treyarch and Raven Software, Cold War is set in the early 1980s, a period characterized by espionage and heightened global tensions. While familiar characters make a return, James C. Burns and Sam Worthington did not reprise their roles as Frank Woods and Alex Mason, respectively. Worthington was committed to Avatar, Way of the Water, and Burns was not asked back by Activision. Diverging from other games in the series, players in Cold War have the ability to customize their character, known as Bell, in various ways. This includes options for skin tone and gender, as well as different perks that influence gameplay. The choices players make during their game affect NPC interactions and narrative outcomes. Notably, the campaign features multiple endings, a concept not seen in the series since Black Ops 2.
It was never personal.
In multiplayer, classic 6v6 modes made a return, but the game also introduced larger 12v12 combat scenarios. Map designs were inspired by the campaign's locations, adding a sense of coherence and depth to the multiplayer experience. The Fireteam mode introduced squad-based objectives in large play areas, a shift from the traditional fast-paced Call of Duty gameplay. All of the operators and weapons featured in Black Ops Cold War were also added to Warzone. A later update enabled a unified leveling system between Modern Warfare, Black Ops Cold War, and Warzone, allowing players to share their progress across all three games. Treyarch's signature Zombies mode returned with a new narrative called the Dark Aether storyline, an expansion of the Aether storyline, one of two narratives in Call of Duty Black Ops 4. The first map, Die Maschine, paid homage to the original Nacht der Untoten. A significant evolution in gameplay was the introduction of the Exfil feature, allowing players to escape the map and earn extra rewards, deviating from the traditional endless waves. Additionally, progress is linked between multiplayer and the Zombies mode, meaning players can use all the operators, weapons, and even score streaks unlocked in multiplayer to combat the undead hordes. In the words of Game Informer, if Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War excels at anything, it's options. Unfortunately, it didn't excel at much else, leading to a score of just 76. This rating placed it at the bottom among Call of Duty titles. Paradoxically, its diverse gameplay attracted a staggering 30 million purchases, making it one of the series' top sellers. Fun fact, Nuketown has become synonymous with fast-paced action in the Call of Duty series. Starting with its debut in the original Black Ops, it evolved to Nuketown 2025 in Black Ops 2, got a futuristic twist as Nuke 3 Town in Black Ops 3, saw a reimagining in Black Ops 4, and traveled back in time with Nuketown 84 in Black Ops Cold War. What's fascinating is that this iconic map drew inspiration from a scene in the 2008 film Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Sledgehammer Games was tasked with making the 18th main installment of Call of Duty, and in 2021, they released Call of Duty Vanguard. Vanguard revisits World War II, focusing on the Special Forces, a diverse team united to prevent a Nazi uprising. Spread across various fronts, from Europe to the Pacific, the campaign highlights both expansive battles and the personal struggles of the characters from different nations and backgrounds. The game is mainly set in 1945, towards the end of the European stage of World War II, but it also includes many flashbacks to earlier events. In this way, the story is told through the history of the war in a non-chronological order. With similar gameplay mechanics to those seen in Modern Warfare, new features allow the player to blind fire from behind cover, break through destructible environments, and create new paths to complete objectives. Multiplayer has a new mode called Champion Hill, a successor to Gunfight, where players must survive as long as possible in a squad-based deathmatch. Destructible environments change the game, allowing players to modify the battlefield in real time. The Caliber system elevates this concept by enabling players to choose from different ammo types, each having distinct effects on the environment. Additionally, combat pacing lets players choose between intense or more tactical matches, tailoring the experience to their preferences. Similar to the two previous installments of the Call of Duty franchise, Vanguard was also integrated with Warzone. This meant that players could transfer the weapons they collected in the Vanguard multiplayer to the standalone Battle Royale game. In Vanguard's Zombies mode, titled Day and Fong, or The Beginning, players are introduced to a new origin story for the undead set during World War II. Instead of a strictly wave-based progression, players also undertake various objectives. This approach resulted in a distinctly different Zombies experience from the previous game. However, it wasn't a very popular change to the formula. Vanguard faced criticism for its lack of innovation, with many pointing out the repetitive World War II setting. Earning a score of 74, it fared worse than Cold War, making it the lowest-ranked title in the series. GameRant criticized the Zombies mode for its lack of classic features, particularly wonder weapons and Easter eggs, stating it's the biggest thing that makes Zombies unique. More controversially, pages from the Quran, some bearing blood stains, were spotted on the Day and Fong map. This angered many players and led to an apology by Activision on Twitter that read, "There was content insensitive to Muslims included in the game, and it has been removed. It was not supposed to exist as it appeared in the game. We deeply apologize." The exact number of copies sold remains a mystery. However, it's clear that Vanguard didn't meet the mark, as Activision publicly stated that the game failed to meet their sales expectations. Following its reboot of the Modern Warfare series, it only made sense for Infinity Ward to release Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in 2022. Continuing the 2019 storyline, as Task Force 141 returns, they form an alliance with the Mexican Special Forces unit Los Vaqueros. Together, they face Major Hassan Zyani, a dangerous antagonist armed with American-made ballistic missiles. Modern Warfare 2 rides on an updated version of the IW engine, offering cutting-edge gameplay dynamics, from revamped gun mechanics to a host of other gameplay and visual enhancements. It sets a new benchmark for the franchise. Weapons in Modern Warfare 2 have transitioned into platforms, streamlining player unlocks and introducing universal attachments for a consistent weapon experience. Modern Warfare 2 significantly enhances vehicle combat realism. Bumpers show damage, doors can be blasted off, and tires can burst. The game also ventures into aquatic warfare, with swimming and waterborne vehicles, introducing new ways to interact with vehicles, such as hanging out of car windows or riding on the rooftop. This is complemented by improved movements like tactical sprinting, mounting, sliding, diving to prone, and ledge hanging, making the battlefield feel more dynamic and realistic than ever. In multiplayer, new modes such as Knockout and Prisoner Rescue were introduced. Additionally, the beloved co-op mode, Special Ops, made a comeback, allowing players to tackle different missions as a two-man team. Furthermore, 3-man raids were added in a later update. The introduction of Warzone 2.0 transforms the Battle Royale landscape, presenting richer environments, advanced mechanics, and intensified competition. What's more, the seamless integration of cross-platform multiplayer ensures everyone can join, no matter the gaming device. Despite the array of features, review outlets weren't entirely sold. GameSpot, for instance, found the multiplayer aspect somewhat lacking and critiqued the gun customization for being too complex. As a result, its Metacritic score averaged out to 77. Despite the mixed reviews, Modern Warfare 2 made its mark commercially, shattering several series records. It holds the title of being the quickest Call of Duty game to achieve $1 billion in revenue. The exact sales numbers, however, have not yet been published. Fun fact: Call of Duty is the 4th largest gaming franchise worldwide. It comes after only Pokémon, Tetris, and Mario. This acclaimed first-person shooter series has sold more than 425 million copies and has earned a massive $30 billion in sales. 1 month after celebrating its 20th anniversary on October 26, 2023, the Call of Duty franchise released its 20th main installment, Call of Duty: Modern Warfare 3. Breaking from their traditional release schedule, Activision usually released 2 Modern Warfare games consecutively. This marked the first time Sledgehammer took charge of a Modern Warfare game, and perhaps also the last time, but more on that will be discussed in a moment. The campaign picks up from where Modern Warfare 2 left off, with Task Force 141 continuing their pursuit of the ultranationalist terrorist Vladimir Makarov. Makarov has managed to escape his prison cell in Verdansk, and players are tasked with preventing him from acquiring nuclear materials and destroying the Gora Dam. A notable addition to the campaign is the introduction of open combat missions. These missions offer a more open-world experience, allowing players multiple approaches to complete the mission. Players can opt for a full-on attack or a more tactical, stealthy approach. In multiplayer, the game brings back all of the beloved 2009 Modern Warfare 2 maps, including Terminal, Rust, and High Rise, along with classic game modes like Kill Confirmed and Hardpoint. The War mode, last seen in Call of Duty World War II, also makes a highly anticipated return. A new mode, Cutthroat, pits 3 teams of 3 against each other in a free-for-all battle. The gameplay largely mirrors that of its predecessor, with the addition of slide canceling, a feature that allows players to interrupt their sliding animation. The Zombies game mode has received a significant overhaul, transitioning into an open-world experience. Up to 24 players are dropped into a large map, divided into smaller squads. Each squad is tasked with battling zombies and AI enemies to gather loot and complete challenges. The game has moved away from traditional waves of zombies, featuring instead various areas with different levels of difficulty. Story quests are still present, continuing to progress the overarching narrative. For its 20th main installment, Sledgehammer unfortunately set records, but not in the way they intended. It's widely regarded as the worst launch in the Call of Duty series history. Critics were harsh in their reviews, with GamePro labeling it the biggest disappointment in the series' history so far. IGN was equally critical, giving it a 4 out of 10, and slamming the campaign as the biggest sin possible for a globe-trotting action thriller. It's boring. The game received a score of 55 for the PlayStation 5, making it the worst-rated Call of Duty title of all time. Player reviews were even more unforgiving, with comments like, "This game is absolute trash," "I pre-ordered a refund," and "would rather buy WinRAR," reflecting their disappointment. On Metacritic, the game received an abysmally low user score of 1.7 out of 10, indicating widespread dissatisfaction among players. What an amazing way to conclude the evolution of Call of Duty. Which was your first Call of Duty game, and which one has been your favorite so far? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to check out our other game evolutions, including God of War and Grand Theft Auto, by clicking on the playlist on the right.